It's 1975 and a new car has just hit the market. It is something truly different. Over the decades, it would earn titles like the worst car of the 70s and the ugliest American car ever made. And yet somehow it has also managed to find a place in the hearts of a few devoted fans. This story is worth telling. This is the story of the AMC Pacer. This video is inspired by two articles about the AMC Pacer, one from American Motors and another from Hagerty. You'll find the links in the Google Doc linked in the description. I highly recommend checking them out if you'd like to learn more. Now, the history of American Motors Corporation, or AMC, is an interesting one. By the 1970s, they were the last independent automaker in the U.S. The big three, Ford, General Motors, and Chrysler, had pretty much dominated the American automotive market, leaving little room for AMC. But rather than trying to compete with the massive production machines of Ford and General Motors, AMC decided to take a different approach. They embraced what made them unique. And in 1975, that uniqueness manifested in a car like no other, the AMC Pacer. But why a Pacer? What was AMC thinking? To understand that, we have to go back to the drawing board. AMC at this point was struggling. Their lineup wasn't the strongest, and they needed something bold, something that would capture attention and spark interest. Enter Project Amigo, which would go on to become the Pacer. The idea was simple: create a compact car that wasn't just functional, but revolutionary. AMC was aiming for the car of tomorrow, one that would offer more room, more safety, and more innovation than anything else on the road. This wasn't going to be just another compact car. AMC didn't want to simply compete with the likes of Ford's Pinto or Chevrolet's Vega. No, they wanted to build something bigger, something with more space, more comfort, and something that would meet the safety regulations that were expected to hit the industry. The Pacer's designers were working toward a car that could be futuristic and practical. The plan was to use a Wankel rotary engine, a cutting-edge power plant that was seen as the future of the automotive world. AMC licensed the rights to build rotary engines from Curtiss-Wright for $1.5 million in 1973, and they expected these engines to be smooth, quiet, and efficient. The Pacer would be the first car on the market to feature this new type of engine, which, at the time, was seen as highly innovative and potentially game-changing. But unfortunately, things didn't go as planned. So what went wrong? In 1974, General Motors, who was supposed to supply the rotary engines, dropped the project. There were issues with fuel efficiency and emissions, particularly in light of the 1973 oil crisis, which made gas mileage a key concern for consumers. The rotary engine wasn't as fuel efficient as hoped, and its high combustion chamber temperatures were causing too much NOx to be emitted, which didn't meet the new anti-pollution standards. So, with no rotary engine in sight, AMC was forced to pivot. They opted for a more traditional solution, the inline-six engine that powered so many of their cars. The problem? The six-cylinder was heavy, and it didn't have the performance to back up the Pacer's ambitious design. As a result, the car ended up a bit overweight with the combination of a heavy engine and the massive glass area, which, while offering excellent visibility, also added considerable weight to the car's structure. So, while the Pacer looked futuristic on the outside, it was still powered by the same old technology under the hood. Now let's talk about that design. The Pacer's design was truly unique. It was wide, 77 inches wide to be precise, and had a body shape that was unlike anything on the market. The design came from AMC's Vice President of Styling, Richard Teague, who wanted a car that stood out and wasn't afraid to make a statement. And boy, did it. With its huge windows wrapping around the car, the Pacer earned the nickname the Fishbowl. And when you saw it in person, you could definitely understand why. The vast amount of glass in the Pacer provided excellent visibility, but also gave the car a very distinct, somewhat strange look. The body itself had a sloping hood and tunneled headlights, which were quite futuristic for the time. But it wasn't just about the looks. AMC was thinking about passenger comfort as well. The Pacer's cab-forward design pushed the dashboard as far forward as possible, maximizing interior space. The wide stance and low center of gravity meant the Pacer handled well. better than most cars of its size, actually, but the heavy engine really hindered its overall performance. For safety, the Pacer was designed with front, rear, and side impact protection and included rollover security, as well as independent suspension for a smoother ride. All these features added weight, but also gave the Pacer a feeling of sturdiness and safety. A very unique feature of the Pacer was the fact that the passenger side door was 10 inches longer than the driver's door, making it easier to get in and out of the back seats. It was a small touch, but one that reflected the Pacer's intention to be comfortable and user-friendly. But there was one major problem. The Pacer lacked power. While the Pacer was innovative in design, it just didn't have the muscle to match. The inline-six engine in the original models was underpowered, optimized more for low emissions and fuel efficiency than for performance. This made the car sluggish on the road, especially given its weight. And while AMC tried to address this with a V8 engine option in 1978, the damage to the car's reputation had already been done. In its first year of production in 1975, the Pacer sold a respectable 145,528 units, but that would be its high point. Sales quickly started to decline as buyers realized that the Pacer just didn't have the power or efficiency to compete with the smaller, lighter cars coming from Japan and Europe. AMC even tried to give the Pacer a facelift with the introduction of the Pacer Wagon in 1977, which had a more conventional design, hoping to attract customers who were put off by the coupe's space-age looks, but it didn't work. The sales numbers continued to slide, and by 1979, the Pacer was officially discontinued. So what happened to the Pacer after it was discontinued? Well, the Pacer faded into obscurity for many years, often found on lists of worst cars ever. It was derided for its strange looks, poor performance, and lack of practicality, but over time, things started to change. By the 1990s, the Pacer had developed a cult following. It wasn't long before it was featured in the 1992 film Wayne's World, where Wayne and Garth sing along to Queen's Bohemian Rhapsody in Wayne's blue 1976 Pacer. That moment introduced the car to a new generation, and suddenly the Pacer became a pop culture icon. Today, the Pacer is still something of a Marmite car. People either love it or hate it. But for those who love it, it's become a symbol of quirky automotive design. The Pacer has even seen a resurgence at car shows, with enthusiasts restoring and modifying them, proving that what was once considered an automotive oddity is now appreciated as a unique design icon. The Pacer has also made its way into music videos, appearing in clips by artists like Eminem. It's the kind of car that still draws a crowd wherever it goes, thanks to its eccentric charm. You can't deny that the Pacer has character. And what's even more interesting, the Pacer's legacy is one of what could have been. If the car had arrived at a different time with better engine options and less competition from smaller, lighter, more efficient cars, it could have been a game changer. As it is, the Pacer is a symbol of ambition, a car that was ahead of its time, but perhaps just a little too early for its moment. So what do you think? Was the AMC Pacer the worst car of the 70s, or a car with some hidden charm? If you enjoyed this, feel free to subscribe and click on the recommended video that appears on the screen. It's all about the Lincoln Continental Mark V. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.